things. So there's the emotional connection that's you've got to work around.
What were the key elements of your transition out of Islam?
Is this Matthew?
Yeah.
I just want to say you're like a celebrity to me. So.
Thanks.
Sorry, what was your question?
I wanted to know what were like the key elements, the points that made you think the most, that helped lead you out of Islam.
Well, I was never really as firm as a believer as they get. I mean, my parents are pretty upper middle class, and they speak French and Arabic and stuff. I just started learning English a while ago, and when I read the Quran in English, I was like, this makes a lot less sense in English than it ever did in Arabic. So I was just thinking about why, if God really did exist, and He really did want to reveal Himself to human beings, why wouldn't He just reveal Himself to every single human being on the planet in all languages, say the exact same thing simultaneously to everybody, and tell them to stop fighting each other forever? Is that too much is that ridiculous to imagine? Is that ridiculous to expect that from God?
I think it's a little more effective than a burning bush or a pillar of fire or plagues, and then taking a band of rabble-rousers and giving them the truth to disseminate to everybody else. I mean, I find it absolutely absurd. Hey, I've said it before, the God starts off and I got a man, and oh, well, that wasn't enough. Let's make him, a partner. So now I got a man and a woman, everything's going to be fine. And then that goes bad. And so all right, kick you guys out of the garden. No more, get to play nice with everybody else. And then it builds up and it goes horribly, horribly wrong again. So now I'm going to flood the whole earth and just keep this one family alive. Instead of focusing on everybody, it's one family. And surely this one good family will correct things. And then a few hundred years later, they're building a tower. And no, that's not what you can't build a tower to heaven. I didn't want you to do that. So let's confuse them all. And now instead of worrying about everybody on the planet, I'm just going to stick with this one little tribe where everything.
Maybe I'll get it right this time.
Where everything's going to repeatedly go wrong again. I mean, it's this comedy of errors. Where what kind of inept buffoon are we talking about? And in every case, they all think that we've got the truth, and it's our job to disseminate it to everybody else. And interestingly, they're all doing this in competition, and some of them fall by the wayside. Some of them are killed because our God said to kill you and take your stuff, which is about what 80% of the Old Testament's about, or the Tanakh.
Yeah, well, actually, thanks to you guys and watching your show, I did read the Old Testament for the first time. It's not a big thing here in Egypt, but I went out, I got a copy in Arabic, and I read it, and I was like, what's so different about the Quran from all these, not nice things that the Old Testament has to say? And then when I showed it to my friend, they're like, well, yeah, the Old Testament was revealed by God, but it was corrupted and became the New Testament, and nobody could make up their minds. And then they go on to say how the Quran has been unchanged for 1,400 years. Well, it shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it was written by 7th century men for 7th century men. How it's so obvious. I don't know. Like, it's enough to make yourself suspect that maybe you don't know something that they don't. Do they know something I don't? Because it just smells of a rat to me that this book is at all relevant now. I mean, you've obviously heard the violent passages in the Quran about, you shall slay them wherever you find them and such.
Right.
And then Muslim apologists will say, well, you're taking it out of context.
Yeah, because there's two of those passages that are almost the same. So whenever you say it, they'll say that this one's actually talking about a time of war, and one of the passages is and one isn't. I'm curious, as in your experience, I don't know how many atheists you run into.
Zero. This is the first time I ever have a conversation with an atheist ever in my entire life.
Oh, well, then you can't answer the question I was going to ask.
Oh, okay.
But there was curiosity because of this new Pew research that shows that atheists generally tend to know more about religion than religionists. I wondered if that had been your experience in meeting other atheists who had been Muslims, if they knew more. But if we're the first, move. No. I do want to ask
to come out as an atheist here. Really risky. There have been writers and authors in the past who have very subtly tiptoed, and they have been, some have been murdered in their offices. Some of them got stabbed. We have a very famous Nobel Prize winning author. His name is Naguib Mahfouz. He won the Nobel Literature Prize in 1988 for a book he wrote. It was an allegory about God being the elder of a village, and then all his people were like sheep following him. And yeah, people saw that, and then a gang of fundamentalists was waiting down by his house, and they stabbed him in the throat. He survived for another 20 years, but they silenced him. It's impossible to know how many atheists there are here. I'm sure there must be many, but because of the really heavy cultural, social endorsement of this, and like you hear the prayer 5 times a day. If you didn't hear it once, if one of those was missed, you'd look up and say, "Oh my God, something is wrong." It's so
Something's
tied up in our
changed,
culture, in our language, in our way of thinking that it's like you're considered it's considered treasonous to be an atheist. Treasonous.
I'm curious about a couple of things. You talked about how the Quran, once you read it in English, made less sense in English than Arabic. But I've heard Muslims actually use that to say that, yes, you need to read it in the original Arabic because it doesn't make sense in English.
Exactly. That's the thing, too. That exposes the weakness of what should be an all-powerful, all-knowing being. An all-powerful, all-knowing being
he would make
reveal a book in such a difficult
his
language.
message would be comprehensible no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in Arabic also, the Arabic language is really different from English, and the way of thinking in it is also really different. But
so I'm wondering during these, granted, I've been to Alexandria and I wasn't, granted, I was a Christian at the time, which would have still made me an apostate, but not nearly as bad. And I wasn't, killed while I was walking the streets, and we drove down to Giza on a bus, et cetera. But you're talking about hearing, the call to prayer 5 times a day and whatever. I know that you can't be out, and I wouldn't encourage you to. I mean, I've said this before, if you're at a risk of loss of life, limb, job, happiness, family, whatever, keep lying, pretending, whatever. But do you find yourself participating? For example, if you're in the office and the call to prayer occurs and everybody hits the mat, do you have to participate in that as well? And if there are people walking around not praying, aren't they like putting a big red flag on themselves?
Not really. I mean, of all the Arab Muslim countries, Egypt is actually, the most secular and most liberal-minded. If this was Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't even be allowed to make this call. No way. If the Saudi Arabia, they have something retarded called the prayer police. They go around, make sure that all shops are closed during prayer. If there's a shop that's open, you're taken downtown, and there's a big fat fine you have to pay. They also have something ridiculous called the Ministry of Virtue and Vice. It's about making sure that, we can't see a woman's fingernails and all that such that. No, but in Egypt, no, it's okay. Nobody's forcing me to pray. There's relative freedom from religion here as far as that is concerned. But things like Ramadan, I don't know if you know about that, but we just came out of it about 2 months ago. You fast during all daylight hours, complete abstinence from all like material, worldly pleasures, mainly eating and drinking. And it's hot here in Egypt, it's really, really hot. Even right now, it's 30 degrees and it's the middle of the night. And you can't drink. Like, I want to drink water. I'm not going to just limit myself to drinking water at home. So yes, when I do drink water, people do come up to me and say, "What do you think you're doing? Or you're not respecting the culture, the faith, cultural insensitivity, and all that."
See, this is you bring up something really compelling, which is that what religion does is it comes up with these concepts of virtue and morality and what have you that really have nothing to do with human well-being or happiness. They just have to do with enforcing this system of rules designed to control people.
It's really crude. I don't get it. It has nothing to do with the human experience. It's like something out of the Victorian era. Seriously.
Or beyond.
It'd be interesting. I don't know if there's a way to do it anonymously or not to see about building an underground network of closeted secular people in the area. So, but anyway, we're running short on time, and I appreciate the call.
Thank you.
And thanks very much for taking my call.
Sure,
stay in
call
touch
back
with us
anytime. Let us know what's going on
through email and what have you, if you like.
All right, bye.
All right.
All right, we're coming down to the last few minutes of the show. I've got Kyle in Olympia. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, thank you. I'm wondering if you guys have seen the movie The Invention of Lying.
No, but I want to.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good mainstream atheist movie under the guise of a romantic comedy. For those who don't know what the movie's about, it's about a world where nobody can lie, and so everybody is infinitely gullible because, they have no concept of lying. Mm-hmm. So when Ricky Gervais comes along and he's able to lie, he comes up with religion, and of course it's super successful, and everybody believes it, and, it's the best thing ever. And of course the implication is religion is a lie.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually not a fan of the movie.
oh.
I didn't think it was that funny. I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was a little ham-fisted in the message it was trying to do. There were things about it that I liked and enjoyed. And there were a couple good bits, but it's not on my toppers list for movies, atheist or otherwise. So.
Well, I think it's significant that such a movie would be in the mainstream media, especially in America when atheism is so downplayed so much of the time. But
I mean, you have direct attacks on religion in like Religulous and other films like that, and The God Who Wasn't There. And granted, that's not nearly as mainstream. I do appreciate the fact that it's the themes were presented in a much more kind of mainstream way, but they're still kind of dumbed down, and there are problems there. I guess we're still at that stage where the best we can do is try to do the small
soft,
doses.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we're kind of poking fun at religion here, which I guess it's progress.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Life of Brian was certainly a much firmer smack,
yes.
and that was from 30 years ago. So.
And about 50,000 times better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I do find funny is that fundamentalist Christians in this country, and of course Ricky Gervais is an Englishman, where it's a little bit more acceptable to.
And evidently he's a criminal.
Tweak. Oh, apparently yes.
Or at least there's an 80% chance that
he's in jail and he doesn't even know it. But fundamentalist Christians always whine and complain. Hollywood is so anti-Christian and immoral, and it's like. But look at. They are constantly. Hollywood has forever pandered to the Christian belief system. Whether some of the biggest Hollywood movies of all time, the Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, what have you, have been openly Christian. And whenever you have something coming out, Hollywood answers to one thing, and that's box office. So when The Passion of the Christ came out, the follow-up to that was studios were going around all over the place saying, hey, does any of your writers? They were calling agencies saying, do any of your people have anything Christian? Right? I mean, sure, if they know it'll make money, and if they don't, they're not motivated by any sort of political agenda. It's not this whole the gang of liberal Jews out there to jab Christianity whenever they want. If Christian movies make money, they'll make those. If Christian movies don't make money, they won't make them. If an atheist movie came along and made $200 million, you'd see more atheist movies. So there's ultimately it's what people want to go see and promote with their dollar.
Yeah, good point. I agree with you. I have a specific question about the movie. So there's a scene in it where Ricky Gervais is at his mother's deathbed, and she's telling him how scared she is of this unknown afterlife, and she thinks it's just going to be an eternity of nothingness. And so that's, the point where he says, oh, I can lie so I can comfort her.
Yeah.
And tell her it's all going to be wonderful.
Yeah, and on that, I got to stop you because we're out of time.
Okay.
But sorry. As a reminder, we'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody. I don't know. You guys have a camera in your new booth?
No,
I guess not.
We don't, but,
thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks, Martin. And
sure,
we'll see you all again next week. And don't forget about Thread Gills after the show.
Man, this hour just flew. That's strange. Wow.